title of this video is Pussy Politics. And a couple weeks ago, I told Trinidad and Tobago, the PNM stands for Pussy National Movement. And there's a bunch of pussies, little cats. That is the PNM, the Pussy National Movement. A set of little boys and girls who want to use parliamentary privilege and take dirty money and pay aliases and trolls and fake profiles to attack people all over the place in public social media, buy out journalists and have journalists writing crap about people. And if you challenge it, you get a retraction hidden in 15 pages inside the papers after they damage you. That's the game these pussies in the PNM, in the Pussy National Movement is play. And dirty money was offloaded to prevent people exposing the banditry that is taking place in this country right now. This is a criminal consortium in the contract mafia right now, using PNM and UNC. PNM and UNC. The same people who building under PNM, building under UNC, and everything starting at $1 billion. That airport expansion in Tobago, I want to get sidetracked, but that airport expansion in Tobago, $1.2 billion. It's not worth that. It's nowhere near worth that. If you could build 10 of what they're going and build for that 1.2 billion, but you can't challenge them now, or at least I can't. But what the Pussy National Movement wasn't expecting, because they set up themselves to keep me under pressure. What they didn't expect was that others would stand up as well. So while they were focused on, I have 10 defamation lawsuits right now from the Pussy National Movement. But I'll tell you this. When Keith Rowley went at David Naked, he bounced his bald head. And David Naked is going to slap him up. David Naked is going to tap him up. What Keith Rowley did by sending this pre-action protocol letter to David Naked was to open a door. I told y'all, Michael Kwamina's slogan should be, once the pussy's crying, Kwamina writing. So Kwamina sent a pre-action protocol letter to David Naked, and David Naked tell him, bring it on. Because they can't sue him for what he said. And the purpose of these lawsuits, and we figured it out, was to terrorize and distract. Some of the lawsuits are the epitome of nuisance lawsuits. They pelting a stone. If you can't afford, or you don't want to fight, you go settle. And you go let the pussy tell the people, I win, I beat him. But that's not where we are today. Where we are today right now, where we are today right now, Trinidad, is that David Naked. I want you to watch this police station. I want you to watch this police station, right? And I'm telling you, this not worth $10 million. As a structure, I want you to watch this. As a structure, I'll tell you how much I know. Foundation, columns, beams, floor, walls, upper floor, windows, doors, paint, floor covering, ceiling, roof, plumbing, electrical, cameras, external lights, fence, outside perimeter works. Not worth $10 million. This project here, a police station in Caranage, that is not worth $10 million, cost this country $53 million. So you're telling me that we're going to use the symbol of law enforcement, a police station, to thief money? Because there is no way, and I'm going to tell you where there's hide the money. The engineering for this building is small money. The architecture for this box, because it's a box, is small money. And the only reason you need an architect on this job is to give the engineer something to quote. Something to put designs for. The steel in that wall. The concrete in that wall, in this property, now worth $10 million. You are looking at labor and material of less than $10 million. To put it in perspective, if this building was 5 stories, it could have cost $10 million. And for it to be 5 stories, the columns and the foundation and the beams would have to be much more robust. Because, not to give you too much information, the mechanics of a building requires a machine to hold it up. The machine is the structure that is the foundation, the columns, and the beams. Structural walls also add to the integrity, but for the most part, whether it's concrete or steel, the foundation, the columns, and the beams work as a machine to continuously keep lifting the floors up. And that is what is supposed to be the cost, the major cost of a building. This building here is a simple 2-story building. If it has a rooftop slab, it's a walking slab, so it's not a major load-bearing slab. Right? And I want you to hear this. That should not have cost us $10 million, cost us $53 million. I am asking the Prime Minister today, could you tell the people of this country, could you give us the scope of works? Could you show us the general works contract, the plumbing contract, the exterior works contract, the electrical contract, the engineering contract, the architectural contract? Could you show us the roof and ceiling contract so that we could see how you come to be spending 5 times what that building should have cost? And that's just one thing. And what Trinidad doesn't understand is that government in Trinidad and Tobago, because when we was passing it, I didn't do the same thing for the health center across the road. I didn't do the same thing for the health center across the road. But I should have done that in a country where the majority of our contractors, including the Chinese contractors that came down to Trinidad, with Shanghai Construction Group being the first one, Michael Zhang, that organization being the first one that brought in China Railway and all of the rest that realized that you could feed in Trinidad. These people understand that in Trinidad and Tobago, government don't account to nobody. Government don't answer to nobody. There is no law in this country that you could go to. We wrote a Freedom of Information request to a government ministry, the ministry that is occupying Faris Al-Rawi and Nahus building on Alexandra Street. And they have ignored the request. That is them breaking the law. But there is no office of state that I can go to and say that this ministry has refused to provide us the information requested. The law should state that for the ministry that has been requested for information, that it should cost them $10,000 a day. $10,000 a day for every day beyond the time allotted by the request, by law. But there is nobody I could go to and say, this organization, duly served with a Freedom of Information request, has refused to provide it. According to the bullshit law, the next step is a civil action. We have to take the government to court. We have to take the government before a court and ask the court to tell the government to provide the information. That is a significant cost. Now, when they're fighting me with state money, they're using taxpayers' money. They're not coming out their pocket. When I fighting them, it's my money and the members of the Citizens Union money. And I'm saying that so you understand that the game they play is to terrorize you with court. And Terence Dial saying that whiny pussy wrote Suzette Lauer, who is in Holland. So Terence can't touch her. And Trinidad law can't reach her. Trinidad court don't apply to her. She is in Holland, in a first world nation. And if Terence Dialsing thinks that what she posted on Facebook in Holland is defamation to him, he had to go Holland and fight her. And he'll lose. He will lose. And what they didn't expect was that there would be a David Naked and a Suzette Lauer to come up as well. And a Johnny Walker in Miami. Stuart Young went at Johnny Walker and Johnny Walker slapped him up publicly, embarrassed him, make him look like a little boy, a 2x4 lawyer, a joke. Johnny Walker, Johnny Narayan, that Stuart Young exposed the man's name and all kind of thing. Johnny had him looking like an ass until Stuart Young had to hush up. And some people say it was Johnny was on Stuart Young's mind, which is why he forget how to walk down steps and fall down in San Fernando. These people are using the courts. They are using the defamation statute, threats of sedition. They are using words like incitement to terrorize people in a democracy. That is what is going on. There are law firms who are being paid taxpayers' money to silence citizens asking for information we're entitled to. Still today, I am fighting a matter with Udicot in court, trying to understand how the Red House cost us $500 million. If you do a commission of inquiry into that Red House project, you would have to jail people. That is the biggest theft in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. I want you to compare the Red House renovation to Piarco Airport. The entirety of Piarco Airport, including all of the ramps and everything, the automatic things that's come out and meet the plane, all of the runways, every single thing that is required for an airport of that scale costs $1 billion. The Red House costs us $500 million to renovate an existing structure. That 90% of the existing structure is still standing there. That we spend $17 million in a project that is owned by a company managed by Terence Dialsing's wife, got $17 million to renovate a contract that's not worth $2 million. Renovate a cottage behind President's house that's not worth $2 million. When the UNC spent $5 million to pull up a fire truck from the side of the drain that wasn't worth $500,000, everybody from the chief fire officer should have made a jail. Everybody from the contractor, the minister that signed off on it, all of them should have made a jail. If this was a real country, but it's not a real country. And it is because of that they've done what they've done, the things that they've done. That $500 million being spent to build that flyover in Diego Martin, they know that's theft. They know nobody need that, especially not now. But they're going to continue to thief out the treasury and then come to tell you, you ought to pay property tax. You ought to put more money in that treasury for them to thief. And that's what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago. But Keith Rowley and Michael Kwamina are going to get humiliated by David Naked. David Naked is not one of all the little boys. And David Naked is not a counterfeit Trinidad Syrian. David Naked come from Lebanon and he know what it is like to deal with people at that level. All they bounce all their head with this boy. And I'm looking to see Keith Rowley back off from David Naked, because David Naked will drag him to hell and beat him. Keith Rowley in trouble. And he exposed now for the weakling that he is. Michael Kwamina exposed now. And I am happy. Terence Dialsing, Suzette Lauer told you to take your pre-action protocol letter, shove it up your ass. And I am hoping that you videotape it so we could see what it looks like when a whiny pussy has to push a pre-action protocol letter up their ass. Because Trinidad and Tobago, and to all the Trinidadians who are outside of Trinidad and Tobago, this defamation bullshit statute don't reach you. It don't reach you. None of them have the length, the time, the inclination to come and find you in an international court. So ignore them. Ignore them. You are the strength of our movement. The people outside of Trinidad and Tobago who have escaped the shithole that the PNM and the UNC have looted. You who have escaped and could still care enough to be talking about this country and having a regard for Trinidad and Tobago, you are free and clear to discuss what you need to discuss. And I'm saying that to you as I continue to raise issues in this country to expose the abject criminality that passes for government in Trinidad and Tobago. It is criminal corruption, tribal racism, divisive. It is destructive socially. We've been broken as a nation, and every single person in this country right now who is in a public health institution suffering from ill treatment, maladministration, malpractice, and incompetence is because our regional health authorities. I got a document last night that the regional health authority buy a tent for $78,000. Just one tent. And that's just to show you the level of criminality. $78,000. People get contracts in projects. I have files now of these things. But what they're trying to do is silence my voice. I will send it to anybody. Chalena Birchwood, stand up and talk, brother. You are the savior of Tobago. Chalena Birchwood, dedicate yourself to it. Suzette Lauer, keep yourself in Holland. The fight that needs to be fought, you had to fight it from there. If you come here, they will use Trinidad courts to shut you up, like Keith Rowley trying to do with David Naked for telling him he has made a mess of handling COVID-19 and should be before an international court. And that is an absolute fact. Human rights, our civil liberties has been broken and abused. This country, and I want to ask, has the Constitution been overthrown? Is this a dictatorship or a democracy? Where are our courts? Where are our judges? Where are our lawyers? Where is anybody who cares enough about Trinidad and Tobago to step out of their crease and risk their salary, but to stand up for the nation state of Trinidad and Tobago? Because that's what we continue to need, and that's what we continue to call for. That we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, in every position and every location, and everybody, and I keep hearing from doctors and nurses and police officers and soldiers and people in the Coast Guard and people working within the ministries, working for the parliament, saying, Mr. Phillip, everything you're saying is a fact. We have information that will shock you. And we're just afraid. We're just afraid to talk. If you put a proper government in office that is not the PNM and the UNC, I promise you, all of those who have abused public office, all of them, whether they were public office holders or they're criminal, corrupt co-conspirators in the private sector, especially those lawyers who have made themselves available to drive the getaway car, those accounting firms, you need a government to go after them and bring them to sure and certain justice. If we want a better Trinidad and Tobago, the only way forward is to elect a proper government to the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. And that's on us. That's on us. This week, the people of England marched on Boris Johnson and told him, partner, you're overstepping your boundaries. And yesterday, Boris Johnson and the British government recanted and pulled back all of their draconian measures. And I don't even know if that is enough to save the government. In Finland, the state fired some postal workers. The rest of the country stood up in solidarity and went on strike. 60,000 workers stood down, shut the country down completely. By the time it was over, the government had to reverse its decision. The minister and the prime minister resigned. We need the people of Trinidad and Tobago to understand, no matter what law they write, no matter how they try to phrase it, the Constitution guarantees you that as long as this is a democracy and a nation ruled by law, the laws must protect the people of Trinidad and Tobago from rogue governments and not the other way around. We need people in this country, all of us, to stop being distracted by racist foolishness and to stop listening to people. If you stand up, somebody coming to whisper in my ear about Stephen Hadid, come to whisper about Suzette Lauer, come to whisper about David Naked, come to whisper about Phillip Alexander. Stop the whispering Tell them if you really know, don't hide your little dick behind UNC cabal, trying to tell people Phillip owned a $1 million boat. I never step on a boat in my life. Ironically, I'm going to step on a boat today because I'm going to film stuff right now to expose what's going on in this country. But I never step on a boat in my life. So why would I own a $1 million boat? And that's the bullshit. They just have to say it. Something must stick. It's throwing shit against a wall. It's like chimpanzees in a cage. That's what our politics and our political exchange is. Trinidadians need to stop and tell anybody who has anything to say to you about anybody, tell them come and say it in public. If you have to shoo-shoo, if you have to hide and come in my inbox to tell me, or if you have to do it as a fake profile, miss me with your bullshit. If it was true, you'd be able to post it with your full name, like Phillip Edward Alexander does every single